Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be a vlog from the 15th to the 22nd, I guess. And it's going to mostly feature me taking part in the Blackathon. And I have an update already because I started a book yesterday. I got about a third of the way into the audiobook of Blood Trials, which after listening to about 15% of it, I was like, I don't really want to read this anymore. This is depressing, because it's set in a bit of a Hunger Games-esque type situation where a bunch of young people, slightly older than Hunger Games people, maybe like 18 or 19, are in this case volunteering rather than being selected to go through these horrific trials where a bunch of them will die, not as a side effect of the horrific trials, but very much on purpose. So that they can be selected to be in this elite group that has extra status and money in society, and who are basically allowed to beat up on and oppress anybody who is below them. Our main character is in it because she wants to discover who murdered her grandfather, who was one of these elite people. And the only way to really do that is to become one of them and get close to them to investigate. And a lot of people are out to murder her specifically because they want to end her family line, which is why they probably, we think, murdered her grandfather in the first place. So there's like conspiracies, and it's a very racist and misogynistic and ableist society. You know, it's very much they hate women and they hate black people. And the ableism is more, comes along with this attitude and outright saying a lot of times survival of the fittest type rhetoric. There's one particular character who's like the antagonist, at least for the first third of the book, who talks a lot, and I hate hearing him speak. I think the narrator does a really good job of making him sound like a complete tool, which he is, but just hearing him with his hazing, deadly hazing rhetoric is just, I hate listening to him. So I kind of wanted to like get this in a print version, so every time he talks I could just skip it, because it's nothing plot important, it's just characterization, and he likes to hear himself talk. So the characterization is really good of both the antagonist and the protagonist. I like the main character's friends. I'm worried they're gonna die because it's that type of book. And yeah, it's just very distressing to listen to, and would be very distressing to read, but sometimes it's easier to read distressing things than audiobooks because I'm more disconnected from them. But also this narrator talks extra slow. Like a lot of narrators talk kind of slow so they're nice and clear, but like this one made a 450-page book into an 18-hour audiobook. And I can easily listen to it and understand what's happening at 3 times speed, which generally I cannot. So I think that this narrator talks at like 30% slower than most narrators. So I turned up the speed, and that way got to about a third of the way through it. Because it didn't, I decided to keep going to a third of the way instead of just 15%, because it was the only audiobook I had downloaded for the trip home from Spokane. So it's like a 2.5 to 3 hour trip. And when I was reading physically, I was getting car sick, so I needed to just listen to an audiobook. So I kept listening to it, and it did get better after 15%. There was a little less of this jerks and monologues, but same distressing circumstances. So I'm thinking I can get through it if I continue to listen to it really fast. Some more interesting things have happened, and like there's been interesting world building, interesting horrific creatures that they've had to fight. But yeah, it's not really my type of book. Like, I quit reading Hunger Games because it was too depressing. Like the whole I hate dystopias because the whole system is so depressing. And this is kind of like a dystopia because the whole society is so messed up. But I have heard a fair few good things about the Blood Trials, so I'm like, if I don't happen to listen to a lot more monologues from that guy, it might be alright. And you know, when you're reading a dystopia, there is always the hope that it will come to the satisfying conclusion of eventually overturning the government. But one of the reasons I don't like dystopias is usually you have to wait for that satisfying payoff till the very end, and everything just looks really horrible, has a horrible outlook until then. So hopefully there will be like some small victories on the way to the end of the book, and like even at the end of this book, because it's a duology and usually you don't get the payoff of a dystopia till the end of the last book. So yeah, we will see if I end up continuing reading this one. But yeah, next on my physical TBR, we have She Would Be King, which is the group book for my team. And like, I've been looking forward to that one for quite a while. Let's get into it. Okay, so yesterday I was editing my last week's vlog, and I had to take out the parts where I was talking about Rise because I found out it was a HarperCollins book. And I edited it, and I exported it, and then I uploaded it so that it'll be ready way ahead of time. And then today, HarperCollins Union announced that they ratified their agreement with HarperCollins. So now I'm going to go back and re-edit it and put it back in, because that footage will fit so much better into that vlog than it will into a separate HarperCollins video. Now I also have to go film some of the reviews I did for HarperCollins videos because I accidentally deleted them. So that's frustrating, but but some of them, well, all of them actually are like really good books, so hopefully people will watch and enjoy and go read those books now. Blood Trials is also a HarperCollins one, so I thought I was going to have to edit that part out, but I don't now, so that's good too. And yeah, I'm really happy for the HarperCollins Union that things are better now and that their people are going to get paid more, and hopefully this will lead to other professionals in the industry also getting paid more because they have to compete with HarperCollins. Okay, so I re-edited the video, re-uploaded it, got it all finished. It's like 6 minutes longer than it was, so that's nice. And I finished a couple of things. I played some more Gene Forge and listened to Retificant? Retica. I'm gonna put it up. Recitative by Toni Morrison. It was 2 hours long, with the introduction that is 1 hour and 10 minutes. So the introduction is all about how this is a story about a black girl and a white girl who were raised in an orphanage or foster type situation together, group home, and how they keep accidentally meeting back up later in their lives, and like the different situations that they get in, and how they like protest on opposite sides of like whether their kids should be bused to school or go to a local school. And the introduction is all about how you can't tell which one of them is black and which one of them is white because it's not actually identified in the story, and it looks like Morrison put a lot of effort into making it so you couldn't tell, and that's part of the commentary that it has. So it's a very short story, but it was interesting, and I definitely think the introduction was helpful because it definitely explained kind of the significance of the story. It was kind of like attending a book club that discussed a lot of the different points and a lot of the different ideas that are brought up that you might miss if you're just listening to an audiobook and don't have anyone to talk to about it particularly. And I highly recommend it. It's super easy to finish because it's so short, even with the introduction. And then I also read Hard Ears, which I think I saw recommended on TikTok by Matthew Clark and Nigel Lynch. And the art style isn't really my thing, but I did appreciate how interesting it was and all the folklore that went into it. And there's a big section at the beginning that's quite dense, because it's like a glossary of creatures and characters and like the system that is going on here, where I think that the story is like there's enough context in it to figure out those details for yourself, at least as much as you need to, and that section would have been better put in a glossary at the end of the book rather than at the beginning of the book, so you could refer to it or see it for extra information at the end, but you don't really need that information to like jump right into the story. I didn't really like the main character that much. He was alright, but he seemed a bit sexist to me based on his interactions with this character. There is a really cool panel that includes this character that I liked, but yeah, I didn't like that aspect of his character. I like this character and this the one on his other side much better. The authors / the author and the illustrator are from Barbados, and so it's about a like fictionalized archipelago of islands that have like united, and there's magic on these islands. And you need magic to live, and some creatures can't make their own magic and have to suck the magic out of other people. A big hurricane happens and ruins a lot of stuff, and then everybody starts working for this mysterious factory, and people start going missing. Working at the factory seems to make your hair fall out. And there's also a side story that kind of comes back around to meet up with the main story, that is about the survivors of a shipwreck that went to try to stop the hurricane, because they can do that with their magic ships, fighting with pirates. And I liked that side story a lot, and overall I would give it 4.5 stars. And I think Toni Morrison's book probably 4 stars. Today is Friday, and today well, yesterday I finished my first Gene Fortitude game. That was a lot of fun. I was very satisfying to get to the end, although it was difficult to get a good ending for all of my allies. There are various allies that you make, and like it's hard to get tailor the ending exactly to my taste. But today, while playing Gene Forge 2, I'm going to be finishing listening to all of the BookTube Goodreads Choice Award videos. A bunch of booktubers got together and picked different categories from the Goodreads Choice Awards to read 10 books that won the last 10 years. And talk about them each in their own video. And so I'm about a third of the way through Luck Beautician's one. She's doing the memoirs, and then I still need to do Thor Wants Another Letter and a few others. So that's what I'm going to be listening to while I play this morning. I've really liked all the videos so far. A lot of them are quite disgusted with the winners of the Goodreads Choice Awards, which is what we expected, but it's fun to like get verification. So I'm about halfway through the blood trials now, and another problem that I have with this book, to my personal taste, is it's about being in the military, and I hate the military. I don't hate the members of the military, but I hate the structure and the institution of it. The way it treats people is absolutely horrendous. And specifically the whole follow orders without question thing just goes against so much of my personal ethos. So yeah, that whole atmosphere that they're in is kind of hard for me to read about without just being frustrated the whole time. But I think we're at a point where Imari is going to be amazing and like save her whole like initiates team that she's on. So hopefully that will be interesting and satisfying. Okay, so it's Saturday, and unfortunately, right after I made that last update where I was hopeful for the book, something I really didn't like happened. And so I kept reading it. It was going to be about a 3-star at that point. But then I got to 90%, and the character did something so illogical and didn't use a power that she had used throughout the books to like make sure of something before she took an action. And that action had horrific consequences, and I just didn't want to stick around to see the consequences, so I DNF'd it at 90%. I was just so disgusted. So it's down to a 2-star book, unfortunately. That's what I'm giving to the blood trials. So I started a new audiobook, The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert, who's one of my favorite authors, and is a romance author. And I think I need to take a break and do romances for a while, because I really don't want to sit down and read, and I think that's because I'm like kind of exhausted at this point, because I've been reading so much fantasy, which I really enjoyed, but I think it'll go better if I take a break and read some romances. So I'm reading The Princess Trap, which is cute. It's got fake engagement, and like they tumbled into this fake engagement because he's a prince and she was seen kissing him by a paparazzi, and so they had to pretend to be engaged so that she isn't portrayed as negatively as in the press as she would be. He's a bit clueless, but also a fairly good guy, and he's being really sweet with her, so I enjoy all that. And yeah, it's just pretty cute so far. And then I'm also starting, instead of She Would Be King, I'm doing You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, because that's romance. I feel like it's going to be an emotionally difficult romance, but still might be lighter fare than She Would Be King. So hopefully I'll finish that one this week, and that will check off the Black trans author prompt, and then the group read next week. And then I do have a romance that has a lot to do with a particular building, so that would fit the set in one building or impressive architecture prompt for the Blackathon. But I'm not really enjoying that romance, so I'm not sure if I should try to find another book for that prompt, or yeah, maybe look through what I've got left on my physical library TBR and see if there's something that would fit that. So it's Saturday night, and I have had the second D&D session with my mom, aunt, and cousin, and it went really well. I freaked out less this time, but I am still very hyped up and anxious as an aftermath from it. So I'm probably going to be staying up pretty late tonight instead of trying to sleep like I did last 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna just stay up a bit late until I'm feeling more relaxed. And meanwhile, I wanted to recommend, I'm watching Capri's Book Island, and Capri Nicole is a really cool person, and he's doing a series called Melanin Book Magic for Black History Month, and I have really enjoyed all of the videos in this series. Right now I'm watching Should White Voice Actors Narrate Black Characters? There was, my favorite one was one from a couple of weeks ago, and I will link that video below, and then you can check out the whole channel. Yeah, highly recommend. So it's Monday, and I was 75 pages into You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty when I read something that made me think, and so I checked the description and then went looking online for spoilers, and sure enough, the person that our main character is dating at the beginning of the book for the first 75 pages, he's about her age, and he's very nice, but the actual love interest is his dad. And that level of age gap is very much not my thing, especially if they have a child the age of the person they're going to be dating. So I'm going to DNF this and read Felix Ever After instead. I did finish The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. There were a lot of sex scenes. Around between the 50 and 75% points, and then a family member of the hero character turns out to be being abused by her husband, and then it becomes about rescuing her from her husband, who is the king of this imaginary country. So yeah, it's kind of dark at the end, but I ended up really liking it. There are a fair amount of really sweet moments. Abuse is also a theme of the hero's background, so be aware of that. And I gave The Princess Trap 4 stars. So it's Tuesday, and I'm just listening to the end of Felix Ever After. And I generally don't like love triangles where one of the members of the triangle gets treated really badly by the person at the center of it. And I really don't like stories where somebody treats their friend crappily. But it's redeemed itself with the end and made me cry at the end. So there's a lot of talking about transness and identities in this story. The main character, Felix, figuring out his identity. He knew that he was trans and identified as a trans man, and now he's kind of figuring out maybe he's more of a demi-boy, stuff like that. And there's a lot of transphobia aimed at him throughout the book. He's also gay, and yeah, I really like both of his love interests, so I didn't like it when he treated them badly. But I think we're grand gesturing at it and groveling to the extent that is needed to repair that. So in the end, I think I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, that's the end of the vlog. I only have one more prompt for Team Hatshepsut. That is the architecture or all-in-one building prompt. And then I have the group read left to read. And I will let you know how that goes in next week's vlog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about something pink? Bye!